Hey, boys and girls, Delta is all
I'm here.
these days. Oh, you made it. Good. Welcome to this Friday edition of Total Health Live, our 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern get together, where we talk about all the news and views that you can use to stay totally healthy and to not just survive, but to thrive in pandemic times. I am one of your hosts, Dr. Christopher Vogelmann of Dr. Vogelmann everywhere on social media. And with me, as always, is the inimitable nutritionist to the stars, Monika Klein.
Hi, everyone. Hi, welcome to another week. And you're everywhere, are you?
I'm everywhere at Dr. Vogelmann, with the exception of YouTube, where I'm Christopher Vogelmann. So, I tried to snap up all those Dr. Vogelmann names long at the beginning of the interwebs. So.
Interweb. Yes,
it's branding, baby. Branding. Okay. And so today we are talking about a whole range of things, including how to fight those pandemic pounds, as well as lifestyle. And in particular, we're seeing a rise in our little bastard, the COVID-19, particularly the Delta variant. And I did some illustrations here just in case something might happen today. And there it is. Ta-da!
That's your famous line, isn't it?
What, ta-da?
No.
Oh, I love
Buttercup.
Ta-da!
I think you're knowing your dad. I've never met him, but knowing what you've told me about, I think he would say that too.
He would, but he passed away before COVID-19 became a thing.
Yeah. Yes, he did.
He disappeared in 2016. Otherwise, we'd be really worried about him and also my mom with respect, because they both had some comorbidities that might have made them sensitive to that little virus thing. So this is
I had
You had a what?
I had an interesting thing. Like, there's all these stories I like to relay to you, or relay to you that when they hit home. So we're having a bit of a plumbing issue, and we called our HOA, and there is one person there. And she doesn't even handle this particular property, but in the property management. And one person, because everyone else is out with COVID.
Good Lord. I think that's one of the great concerns right now, too, that in large open office plans, people with just it won't take many people who are infected to take out 1,000 people. Not so much with death or anything like that, but just to make them sick and to decrease the productivity of any company.
I had an interesting question. I have someone that works here, and he has young children that are going to daily camp, and he asked me if he needs to be tested weekly because of that in order to come work here. And
good question.
An interesting question. It really is.
Yeah, I have no idea what that is. I mean, you set the rules, or the agency sets the rules. I don't know. You are the HR department.
No. If I don't feel comfortable, it's not going to happen. But I just don't know what to make of it. But it sounds like they all had Delta, though, from what I've heard from them. But it's not certain yet. So if they did, they're immune, and they won't.
Well, at least they'll have the antibodies for several months, but that does wear away, because there are instances of people now getting their 4th COVID-19 infection.
Is it a different variant they're getting? Is it a different variant?
Yeah, it's variants. Yeah. First they got the regular, then they got the alpha, then they got I think it was the gamma, or I'm sorry, the UK. I can't remember which one.
Alpha. It was alpha.
Beta.
Beta. That's right. Alpha.
And then they also got the Delta.
Yeah.
So this is a non-discriminatory virus. In fact,
what would they call? The first one will be called COVID Classic, right?
COVID Classic, yeah, not to be confused with Coke Classic, which is a whole different thing. So anyway, but I was going to show you a couple of slides, only because it would help us kind of focus maybe a little bit today. So I'm going to do this just
focus. Do we need help with that?
Giggles. Yeah, I need help with this. So. So we're talking about masking up these days only because that seems to be the new recommendation from the CDC, which is that even those who are vaccinated, if you're in enclosed spaces indoors, the idea is that you could potentially be a spreader. And so you want to reduce those droplets by masking up. So yeah, the mask up Buttercup is probably one of my favorite phrases for that.
Well, they're using a commercial, a song in a commercial, and I don't even know. It's probably some pharmaceutical, but
Yeah.
it's "Beam Me Up, Buttercup," or
Oh, why don't you fill me up?
Fill me
Buttercup?
up, Buttercup,
You don't
baby.
want to be filled up. You want to be masked up. So
Yeah, so masked up. I mean, and there seems still to be some confusion about what the mask does. It doesn't protect you; it protects those who you come in contact with.
well, theoretically, it could protect you too, because the idea is just to stop the droplets. It's the droplets that carry the virus. Although now there's a lot of evidence showing that the virus can actually hang in the air, like it just don't care, and just wait for somebody to come into a potential little, invisible cloud of Delta variants, which is that's a little scary.
Yeah, I had some interesting things that I read today from the New York Times, but I'll let you go on with your slideshow.
I just threw up a few of these because I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and particularly because my 14-year-old stepson is heading back to school next month.
Right.
And they are requiring K through 12 to all be masked up. And it doesn't matter if you've been vaccinated or not. But there is a lot of concern, in particular, like right now you're talking about camps. Same thing is true of contact sports and things like that. How are they going to handle this? What's going to happen? So I think, from what I'm seeing now, we're in for another spike, if you will, not as severe as the one we had. What was it? December, January?
Yeah. Of course, it's right in there. In fact, our local hospital, I just spoke to one of my husband's specialists, and a month ago when he was in the hospital himself, there were no COVID patients. At the height, there were 24, and they all passed away December, January, and now there are 9.
Yeah.
In 250 bed hospital.
Yeah, it's getting, this is an equal opportunity infector and vector, and the spread is pretty significant, because I think, what was they talk about the rate of infection or transmission being 1 way back when. This is like a 6 now, so 6 times more. There's some studies show that it can potentially throw off 1,000 times more virus than the previous versions, the classic version.
And I hear other things other than that. I hear that it's not as severe. So in India, where Delta variant was first identified and caused a huge outbreak, cases have plunged over the past 2 months. A similar drop may now be underway in Britain. There's no clear explanation of these declines.
Yeah, I think that's a John Campbell quote, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's actually New York Times. This is New York Times today.
So yeah, but the interesting thing about that is that you're starting to see some level of herd immunity in India, simply because there's not enough vaccines there. They had, was it 400,000 deaths in India thus far?
Yeah, this is what's happening, because they also talked about large parts of Africa and Asia still have not experienced outbreaks as big as those in Europe, North America, and South America. And I think a lot of it is because they're underreporting. Yeah,
under testing, under reporting. So
yeah,
and I think that's one of the craziest things now. As I mentioned before, we were talking about the prevalence or the ease of transmission. Close contact used to be described as, don't spend 15 minutes in a closed space with somebody, 6 feet away. If it's longer than 15 minutes, you got to stay 6 feet away. Now they've got people walking in corridors who are picking this up. And I think this was was this in Denmark or someplace where they looked at the closed circuit TVs, and they found that the only way these people could have picked it up is by passing each other in a hallway in an office building.
So where did you get that information from?
This was from your friend.
Oh, my friend.
Your friend.
He's my friend.
Your buddy.
Now. Yeah.
Your buddy, John Campbell.
John Campbell. In the U.S., cases started falling rapidly in early January. The decline began before vaccination was widespread and did not follow any evident changes in Americans' COVID attitudes. So this report is sort of like not in control. It's very mysterious. It's not acting like we want it to. And also it says much, much milder, as I just mentioned about the Delta.
I would not believe it in a second, because it depends on who you are and where you are, because we also know people who have been indeed on ventilators with Delta. So I guess it depends on who you are. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
it totally depends
to say
on
it's
who you are.
mild for everyone is like, don't worry, you don't have to mask up or do things. I'm a little cautious about saying, hey, don't worry about this one.
Well, no, because people take it out of context, and there are certain pockets in the country, and California is again one of those places where it's on an upswing. But you know what? It could be gone by the end of August.
Uh,
I mean, I would like to hope and pray.
Yeah, I think hope and pray and envision that everybody
Hope and
behaves
pray is
themselves.
good.
But the reality is, unfortunately, when you're going to have more and more people, as the weather gets colder too, that's one of the reasons we saw such an increase in December, January, is because people were indoors. Also, they were having holidays, and we saw this spike coming with the 4th of July holiday. I was telling a number of
Everyone
people,
did.
listen, wait.
Yeah, everyone did.
No, well, not the people who currently are hospitalized. They're the ones who are saying, well, give me the vaccine now, and then it's too late.
So tell me, this person, I know you know one person that is on a ventilator, at least
I know
one.
more than one, but both are off.
Okay, so those people, were they living wildly without masking? Did they get vaccinated?
No to all of the above.
Okay, so that theory that you just mentioned.
No, don't. No, we're going to go down this road of picking. So this is anecdotal evidence. I can tell you people do get sick, knowing people personally. But if you want to cherry pick, you can do that all day long. I think that one of the things that John Campbell had said, which was very interesting, that people are so focused, for example, in negative and side effects of a vaccine, that they're scaring people away from taking the vaccine. You've got 100 million people in the US who are eligible for the vaccine who aren't taking it for one reason or another. Some are saying, well, I'll get around to it in a year after it's been out for a year, or I don't want to take it unless it's FDA approved, as opposed to being released under an emergency act. I mean,
yeah, so I don't know about anecdotal. If you've got people like if you talk to 10 or 20 people, and every one of them has had a symptom, or let's say 80% have had a symptom, then it's impactful, I'd say, because what's happening with the VERS, the what is it? What does V stand for again? I can't remember what
vaccine.
What it stands for. Vaccine. There you go. The
V is
vaccine.
for vaccine.
Vaccine adverse reporting events, blah blah blah. But it's the VERS site. It's a government site, VERS.org, where you report any adverse effects you've had from the vaccine. And what's happening is most people aren't, because it's a very cumbersome process and a site, so it's not really that accessible and that easy to navigate. So a lot of people are just not bothering, and a lot of people aren't even know that it exists. Now, again, I'm not trying to talk people out of it, but I think people should be educated or aware that I told you what happened to me. I had a conversation with one of my husband's dialysis nurses. Had he not told me that he passed out after his first Moderna in the parking lot, I might have, after I had my first vaccine shot, I might have just sat there for a few minutes and then proceeded to my car.
Well, here in San Diego County, you're required to sit down for like 15
you
to 20
are
minutes.
required 15 minutes. Yeah. So
I don't know if they would allow you to go running off to your car.
Well, no, even after 15 minutes, I might have said, okay, I can manage. But because he alerted me to something that he experienced, which was a lot more dramatic than what I experienced, I was experiencing something, and I might have just said, oh, it's okay. I'm fine. And or I'm okay now, and I can get to my car. And I'm sure I would not have been feeling good on the walk to my car. So I'm glad I knew it. It's like, I think sharing, not alarming, but sharing what people go through is like helpful. I think it's helpful.
I could say sharing is helpful unless it discourages people from doing something good for themselves and for others. Because I think there's so much fear planted in, not just with coronavirus in and of itself, but there's the fear factor of, oh, if I get it, I'm going to die. And alternatively, there's the fear factor of, oh my God, if I take the the vaccine, I'm going to have a microchip implanted in me, or I'm going to actually get the coronavirus from taking the vaccine. There's a lot of misinformation.
Or you're going to break your pelvis because you got dizzy, or you're going to have a bleeding disorder, or you're going to have an allergic response like someone else I know that works here. She every time she was eating something, she blew up, and this was immediately after her vaccine.
So if you're a young girl, if you're a young girl, you're more likely to have the thrombocytopenia than if you are a male. And the problem is they don't differentiate in terms of gender.
That's not so. It's more males, and it's more Pfizer related. No, actually, well, it's
not
in
Pfizer related.
It's in every one of the vaccines. But they were sort of excluding the mRNA, but no, it does happen with the mRNA, and it's mostly males. There's myocarditis. I mean, even John Campbell, who is pro vaccination, and even some people that are pro vaccination, they will still share these things to make people aware that there is a possibility. So the thrombocytopenia is mostly male. The allergic response of this particular person, I mean, she's in her 50s, she's a female. I mean, it is very individualistic, and we need to consider.
What we need to do is actually to consult with your medical provider, with your doctor, and not take advice from us. I will say that right now.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Because,
I mean,
because the liability is something I don't want to deal with, and I think.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
This is informational as opposed to diagnostic and recommendational.
And we are, voicing our opinions as well. I mean, we do have a little bit of an educated opinion, but we have no liability. We encourage you to do what's best for you, and it's really, it's your choice.
And do what's best also for the rest of society. I mean, if you are indeed somebody who is infected, you isolate yourself as opposed to running around like Typhoid Mary way back when. But then going back to good habits, I think it's really important to remember that the whole notion of hand sanitizer is still in effect, and that it's important to apply it generously when you're touching lots of surfaces, I should say. Otherwise, it's ineffective. You don't wipe it off. And I know so many people, I've seen them wipe it on their clothes. They're wiping it on their pants, their shirt, because maybe they use too much, but you just don't want to do that. And we've been talking a lot in the last several weeks that the problem with all the symptoms that we have is that COVID-19 really is an inflammatory condition. And when you're looking at long COVID side effects, I mean, these are really quite significant. I mean, if we just check out the heart, we're talking about chest pains and myocarditis and other things like that. But, in the lungs, you have this difficulty in breathing as well as chest pain, coughing. I mean, even in the pancreas can be affected. And so, and brain is the one that has fascinated me the most, because I've actually had some of these symptoms, in particular the brain fog and fatigue. Some people have hallucinations, delirium, sleep disturbances, and some folks have had everything from PTSD to anxiety to depression. You name it, they've got it. And then you talk about the spleen, which is your blood-producing organ. I mean, all these things can be affected. Even liver injury can occur with a COVID-19 infection. And so if you have problems with your pancreas, you're going to have problems with getting the right amounts of insulin in your system. If there's any sort of a renal problem, it's an injury that's going to affect your entire system. Because I remember when my mom was passing away, it was kidney failure was the sign of you're on the way out. And of course, we know about all the gastrointestinal tract issues, as well as you're talking earlier about the inflammation to the blood vessels and the coagulopathies and everything else like that.
Encephalopathy is really what you experienced, right?
I would think so. Yeah, just inflammation of the brain. So I put it in red here just so that you remember it's an inflammatory condition is what's going on here. It's not just a bad flu. And I mean, masks actually worked, as we said before, about the droplets. They're safe. If masks were deadly, you have to understand that every doctor and nurse in a hospital would be dead by now, and you'd be taking care of yourself in a hospital. So
yeah, I always sort of share my visit to the store,
Your visit to
or
the
my
store? Which
visit
one?
in the wild of the community, right?
Is this Trader Joe's or what is?
It's Trader Joe's the other day, and I didn't go in. I just drove by, and I noticed most people in front of the store were not wearing masks. But I understand it's mandatory now, I think, although I don't know if it's county based, but
It's probably county based, but I think we're going back to some of the things that we've had before. One thing that's clear is there are instances in both the UK and Denmark where outdoor sporting events, their football events, which we would call soccer, have actually shown transmission. And outdoors was supposed to decrease transmission, which just tells you that this viral load from Delta is so severe that it can spread in an outdoor environment. So.
Well, yeah, and we don't know of any reports yet of the Olympics, but there were a lot of people who had COVID pre-Olympics, and I don't know if you're paying attention to them. I love the Olympics. Boy, you can be glued all day if you wanted to, but it's yeah, I mean, it's a different experience this year for sure, but it's they're still performing.
There are a lot of beautiful venues that have no one in the stands.
Yeah, exactly. No one in the stands, and they've got all these watch parties back home for the families. So, but the families are in these watch parties, and there's like 30 or 40 of them unmasked. So
I also believe that a lot of them have been vaccinated, from what I understand. So,
but they're getting the Delta even with vaccination.
Yeah. It's true because the vaccine, look at those mRNA vaccines. I mean, it depends on which data sources you look at, but it's either 96%. Well, 96% seems to be the number that prevents against hospitalizations, which is great. So it means there's a 6% chance that you could be hospitalized if you're exposed to the Delta and have already been fully vaccinated. On the other hand, it's like some data suggest that it's 86 to 89%. In terms of severe disease, you're protected from severe disease. But so if you're protected from disease, but not sick enough to get hospitalized, then, I mean, the vaccines are apparently doing a fairly good job. And there are those people, of course, who will catch COVID, be asymptomatic, but still spreading it, who are vaccinated and may have just the most common symptom now is actually headache for vaccinated and unvaccinated. If you catch the COVID, it's headache. It's not the sniffles, the runny nose, cold symptoms.
Well, yeah, and that keeps changing all the time because for Delta, it was actually sore throat was number one.
Yeah,
and sore throat and sniffles and all sorts of things like that. But I saw an interesting, I saw something interesting on Quora. Actually, it was a little graph. It was sort of a Lego graph.
It wasn't this graph, was it?
No, it was more of a not it wasn't even a graph. It was a bar graph with Legos indicating unvaccinated, vaccinated, and actually in the unvaccinated they had hardly any hospitalizations there. Right. They had the degree of protection for each person, each type of person, vaccinated and not vaccinated. So.
Sometimes charts and visuals can be particularly good. I mean, one of the things I thought this was interesting. This was from earlier in the week, which showed that South African cases were down and U.S. cases were going up.
Yeah, UK is going down too.
UK going down, yeah. So UK and South Africa going down, but the United States is coming up. And
I think it started later in the U.S., did it not?
Yeah. You're looking at where it's considered to be. We're kind of like anywhere from maybe 3 to 4 weeks behind what goes on in other countries, except for the fact that we're going up, and apparently Spain is rocketing up also, which is a little concerning.
Mm-hmm. But maybe it won't go as high. Let's pray.
Hopefully not. This is the effectiveness of just saying it's like 86 to 89% against infection, but around 96 for hospitalization. And you really want to avoid the hospital if you possibly can.
Yeah. I mean, yes, you do.
And the mRNAs appear to be more effective than J&J or AstraZeneca. The interesting thing about AstraZeneca is it hasn't, one of the main reasons it's not in the US, it turns out, actually is because of oversupply. Because there already were 3 vaccines circulating in the US, and it wasn't a real issue. Getting testing, though, is still a problem for people in some cases. But there are more sites available. It's just the
So
amount of
tell me
time it
about the
takes.
testing, because I had an issue with someone who was having just that, the testing issue. And it's hard to believe. I don't think there are lineups anymore. And and it's much more available. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure about the testing.
Testing is still
problem.
is readily available. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah, exactly.
you have to almost in every community. In fact, now testing is being done in pharmacies like our local Rite Aid and Walgreens.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
So
everywhere.
so it's not like you have to wait in line for 3 hours to get a drive-through test.
Yeah. So
One
that's
of the concerns, though, is that there are a lot of for those who are concerned about the rest of the world, there are a lot of vaccines that are actually going bad at this point because people aren't using them. And one of Pfizer's major plants is in Michigan. And one of the things that I had found out just the other day was that there were over 400,000 doses that were expiring in the state of Michigan. And because there's and for some reason, nobody's really planning ahead, of course. And I worked in the pharmaceutical industry years ago, and I can tell you that, when you see a 2-year expiration or a 3-month expiration or something like that on a particular medication, they're playing it extra safe. I can tell you that a lot of pharmaceuticals,
you can't use it. You can't use it.
Yeah, you can't give it to somebody. But if you were a consumer, I can tell you for a fact, a lot of these things, even some of the antibiotics and others, they're still good for 3 years after the expiration date, although slightly less effective. But you can't advise people to use expired medications. And the reality is that many of those expired doses of Pfizer, for example, are still good. They'll still work, but you can't sell them for fear of liability lawsuits.
Yeah, you cannot. I mean, best before is best before in food and drug.
Food and drugs.
Yeah. So
Food and drugs.
So I guess that's why it's not in the hands of the consumer at this point.
No, and so our advice to you is to mask up, Buttercup, because you want to stop the spread as much as you can. So
yeah. So
meanwhile,
it just continues for sure.
Meanwhile, back in
the
world of questions and answers. Although you were asking again about masking indoors and also younger spreaders.
Well, I think we covered it about the camping and that kind of issue, but I think we answered that. So we're
Kids
ready
are great
for Q&A.
vectors. Okay, cue it up.
So we had 2 left from last week, both Elias and Natasha. So we're gonna answer your questions today.
Natasha.
Oh, that's my niece. Did I say Natasha?
You said Natasha.
That's how we say it in Canada, and I think that's how the UK English people. See, Natasha is not very.
There is Boris and Natasha.
Yeah.
Natasha is not from Nashville, but Elias is from Nashville. And Tennessee. He just says, just started a weight loss program. I think I'm eating all the right things. Good for you. I told my trainer what I was eating and he freaked out. And then I told a friend about the foods in my program and they told me to try something else. Who should I believe? I'm working with a professional nutritionist and I don't want my resolve to be jeopardized by other people's strong opinions. Well, that's one for you.
Yeah. I say don't listen to anybody.
Don't listen to anybody except your nutritionist.
Ignore everybody because you're always going to hear opinions.
Well, but if you're getting guidance from your nutritionist, Elias, I think you probably should listen to him or her.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you need to pick a lane, right?
Pick a lane. Pick a team.
You picked this person. You're probably paying this person. And so unless it's way out of line, it's like really crazy. And if you're not getting results, then you might want to look further or look somewhere else. But if you're getting results and you feel like better since you started doing this, well, stick with it. And really, if it holds the basics of, good protein, good fat, and good carbohydrates in a balanced way, 3 meals a day, those are the foundational pieces.
Yeah, so pay attention to your healthcare professional, and you'll be able to conquer your anxiety and frustration about diet.
Yeah, and also you will, yeah, just don't listen to it because everyone has an opinion.
Yeah, I know there's certain jokes and things that I know about that, but I can't use this on the air because we're PG-13. So,
Yeah. So
um,
just bums the word and just, share it with you and your professional nutritionist and just keep it between the two of you. And as time goes on, then people will start seeing results and they'll start asking and you'll say, well, you'll become the expert actually.
what have you been doing lately? I've
Yeah.
been paying attention to my healthcare provider. What have you been doing lately?
Yeah.
All right.
And listen to your body. Listen to your body, not everybody else's opinions.
So, Natasha from the city by the bay in San Francisco, from last week, we're finally getting to you, Natasha. She says, I'm a runner and I need to fuel my body with the fright foods. Fright foods? Oh, you mean right foods, Natasha, I hope. Unless you're eating things that make you afraid.
Scary food.
Fright foods would be fast foods. That's another
Fright
F word.
foods. That's Halloween food or fast
Fright
food.
foods. Yeah, a sack full of candy. She says, I eat a lot of. Okay, here we go. She clarifies. She says, I eat a lot of healthy carbs and have always been able to burn them off quickly. Now that I turned 50, it's not that easy, and my knees have been hurting as well. Time to look for a new activity? I sure hope not. What is your suggestion?
So you want to take the knee question, and then I can dive in.
I could take the knee question, which is, you can walk for a while, and there's nothing wrong with changing up your exercise. I know you're a runner, but I know that a stationary bike can really help you in the interim if your knees are really bothering you while running. And of course, there are other types of therapies and procedures you can use. Ice to the knee is very good. You can do what they call transverse friction massage. I'm sure you can Google that up. That's very good for helping the knees. And it really depends on where in your knees the problem is. I know that if you have it in the tendon from the quadriceps, the tendon that your kneecap is inside of, that's a very different problem than if it's the sides of the knees or the inside of your knee. So it's probably a good idea to get a workup from either your orthopedist or your chiropractor or your naturopath or somebody who's going to do tests and determine exactly what the problem is, where it is, and then give you whatever type of therapy or magic potion or lotion will help you to get some relief. But in the interim, you can change up your activity. I think even walking 20, 30 minutes a day is going to be better than pounding your knees into oblivion.
Yeah, or swimming would be good too.
Swimming also, great suggestion. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to maybe, get some x-rays and maybe even an MRI to see what's going on with those knees. But yeah, this constant pounding is going to wear out your joints at some point.
Yeah, I knew a few marathoners who only can walk now. They can no longer run because they just too much pounding.
Yeah, too much pounding. And if there's any extra weight, that's even going to be worse, not only for your knees, your hips, and your feet. So yeah, I mean, there are supplements you can take to help build and support your bones and your tissue, collagen-based things, hyaluronic acid, chromium. What am I thinking?
Magnesium, manganese.
Yeah, chondroitin. Chondroitin
sulfate, glucosamine sulfate.
Glucosamine, chondroitin. MSM is also good. It helps with
water.
Water's
very good. Water's very good.
Fish oil, also good. So these are all supplements that could help you reduce some of the inflammation, but also support some of the actual innate structure of your knee. So, and there are anti-inflammatory foods too. Ginger, for one, ginger and turmeric you can take supplementally as well, but it's also good to add to your diet as well. Start
it does change. The turmeric does change your rice into a yellow color, and if you're okay with that, go ahead.
Orangey yellow. Yes,
orangey yellow.
Very, very. And sometimes it stains some of,
it does. Even the cutting board, if it's fresh.
Yes, tableware and that kind of thing. But it can come off, no problemo.
Yeah.
So yeah, onions and garlic also anti-inflammatory. Most vegetables are. So stick with primarily plant-based, and that will help you. And I don't know if there was any weight. Did you say any weight? No, you didn't say anything about weight issues. So
Natasha didn't say anything about weight, but just saying that she has always been able to burn off her carbs, but now she says now that I've turned 50, it's not that easy. So I think she's almost implying, if you read in between the lines, that she might be gaining a little bit or have a tendency to. The other thing is, I would say, if you do get even a simple X-ray, if there's some bone spurs in there, or you've got bone on bone, you may want to consider some other more radical therapies or treatments. I know one, PRP is a really good one in terms of if you want to avoid surgery, but you have to really figure out exactly what the problem is first before you can start making recommendations. So the more data you can gather, the better your outcome is going to be.
Explain what PRP is.
So platelet-rich plasma. They take your blood, they centrifuge down your blood, and they take the platelets out, and they take this platelet-rich formula, they mix it with a couple other carriers, and then they inject it, for example, into your joint, and it tends to regenerate cartilage. It definitely regenerates ligaments in many cases. And in many cases, there are quite a few athletes who go for this procedure. Now in the US, they used to just go into Mexico, and it will, for example, be able to repair. Sometimes it'll repair a lateral or medial collateral ligament, or even be able to repair one of the ACLs, anterior cruciate ligaments. So in fact, because surgery on a knee is never that great for outcome. I mean, it's helpful, but most of the time the problem returns, or something similar or worse returns after you start cutting into joints. So
yeah, I know.
If you can avoid surgery, that's the best thing.
I know that happened to my brother. He had an ACL surgery, and it really was not good for him. And so he has since then done a lot of stem cell treatment, therapy, and it's really helped him a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically, you're just stimulating your body's own recuperative power.
Yeah. So I had a meniscus tear myself, and I had one.
Hey, I did too.
Wow.
Welcome to the club.
And I had one cortisone shot, and that did it. Well, I actually had a year of therapy, but then I had one cortisone shot because I was traveling, and I didn't want to be in pain on the flight. So, and that was,
I will tell you I will tell you how much doctors make the worst patients, because I actually tore it on an airplane. I probably should have filed a claim with the airline.
Oh, really?
Many years ago, and I healed it by myself. It just got better on its own, but it took about 18 months.
How did it happen on the airplane?
I got my foot caught in the frame that bolts the seat to the floor, because I was in the wrong aisle, and I got my foot caught, and I twisted to go to the other side of the airplane, and my foot got caught in there, and my knee just made a loud pop that almost everybody could hear. Everybody could hear it within like 3 rows on either side. But that has actually healed itself up, which is remarkable. But most people don't have the patience to wait 18 months or more to have something heal on its own. So
you think it was how it was put together, the airplane, the seat that caused it?
No, it was circumstances. I mean, my foot got caught in the aluminum frame that bolts the seat into the floor.
Yeah.
And it was just the twisting motion, trying to get out of the wrong side of the plane as quickly as possible. And man, they had to give me ice during the flight because it was just swelling up like a balloon.
Wow. Well,
but I learned.
I got mine not being warmed up enough when I started ballet class one time.
So everything was not beautiful at the ballet.
No, it was. I was in a lot of pain. A lot of pain. That was a while ago. But but it kind of, 30 years later, it sort of came back, and that's when I was treated in 2016 for that. So, yeah,
look at this.
Never surgery.
I have to apologize. We've got people coming in here. Look at this. Oh, that's our old friend Eamon. Yeah, that Moderna.
Falling. This is completely untrue. We have an R rate estimated at 1.2 to 1.4 in the UK. Even though over 70%.
70%. Eamon, yeah. The growth. Oh, he's
Well,
also talking about the growth. The growth rate in active cases is estimated at 3 to 5%. Yeah, he's in the UK. He's an amazing person who does a lot of
yeah.
social. He does a lot of SEO stuff, and he's quite the consultant. I know him from way back when. Oh my gosh, probably
Yeah, so
10
this is
years or
just
so.
based on what I'm reading at New York Times. I mean, things change, and you, of course, what is your name again? I'm so sorry,
Eamon Johns.
Eamon. You, of course, have a bird's eye view of what's going on,
Yeah.
just like we have a bird's eye view of what's going on in our neighborhood. So thank you for that correction, because I just rely on what I get from the different media sources. So
Hey, and this shows me. I mean, it's a good idea for us to continue on YouTube, because that's where you're watching us today. So, thank you for
we're not
thank you for your
YouTube, we're
comment.
not Facebook.
Oh, we're on Facebook. We're in Facebook groups. We're in Total Health Live Facebook
We're
group.
everywhere.
We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're not on crack, but
Well,
we are. But we are on point. So, meanwhile, Natasha, where is Natasha? So I think Natasha, that probably gives perhaps enough of information for you. I'm sorry, I have some airplanes nearby here. We live next to
Speaking of airplanes and your injury, there you go.
Naval Air Station. Yeah, so just and be careful with your knees. I will tell you, but make sure you get enough information on this, because it's very, very important to have the right data, the right diagnosis, and then you have the option of different types of treatments. Okay, to Nevada. They like to say Nevada. I've learned
like
that.
Natasha.
No, Nevada. Nevada is Trish. I think it's Patricia. That's Trish. Trish is from Henderson, which is just outside of Vegas.
It's how you say the A's, but anyway.
The natives say Nevada. A lot people who aren't in the know and want to offend someone
say Nevada.
They'll say Nevada.
Just like Natasha and Natasha.
Natasha. I would say my preference is Natasha, but that's because the is what you would hear in Russian.
Canada.
Oh,
no, Natasha. Anyway, back to Trish. NV.
We're going to have a couple leftover questions here again this week, but that's okay. We'll get to them. So Trish is from Henderson, just a little bit east of Vegas. She says, I'm working with a nutritionist and I've been slowly making changes in my diet. I know she's been really helpful, but I think I can start doing this on my own. It's been 4 weeks now. I can't justify the cost and would rather go on my own. What do you think?
So, well, has that person been helping you? For one, has that person been keeping you on track? For another, do you tend to start things and then stop things? Do you have a sort of inflated idea of what you can accomplish? Or are you overly ambitious with regards to this area in your life? Have you tried before? Have you failed? I think if you're getting some results, you might, I personally suggest always at least 3 months working with someone, because making changes on your own is really, really hard. And I've seen this so often in my practice is people start and then, I can do it. And they can't. They would have done it in the first place if you could. And that's not saying that's not a flaw. Most people are like that. It really helps to get support, whatever kind of support you can. And if you're working with a professional that can guide you and supports you also, not just in your diet, but emotionally and psychologically, to help you make these changes, that's so important.
Well, the other thing, Trish, you mentioned that you've been slowly making changes in your diet. So the question is, I think Monika is very correct with the accountability and having somebody to hold your hand and somebody to guide you through the emotional roller coaster that can come about when you're making a significant lifestyle change. 4 weeks, in my opinion, that's a very short period of time compared to your entire life of habits.
Yeah, you might be setting yourself up for I won't say failure, but not getting your goals met if you quit now. And I hate to say quitting, because I think your intention is to continue, but whether you do, that's another question. So,
and you've and Trish, you've also said that the nutritionist has been really helpful.
Yeah.
And I think when you say I can start doing this on my own, I mean, what was the impetus for starting? Why didn't, if you could start it on your own, why did you go to the nutritionist in the first place?
Yeah. And when you talk about expense,
Yeah.
oftentimes when you're working with a really good program, it's actually less expensive. You're not
Right.
going out as much, you're eating less, you're really, really focused and really aware of what you're doing on a daily basis. So it's invaluable. There's no price you can put on something like that.
I mean,
There absolutely isn't.
yeah, I mean, I would ask yourself this question: what's the cost to me of not losing this weight, of not getting healthy? How many hospital bills will I have in the future? What will my quality of life be like? If this is something, if you are losing weight, which you don't say that you're doing that here, but perhaps that is this, or if you're dealing with an eating disorder, that could be a whole other issue too. So I don't know. There's not enough information here, except for the fact that I think that you're selling your nutritionist short, and you need to go for more than 4 weeks. And I agree with Monika. You need at least 90 days, because think about it. We, in the business world, we think of things quarterly, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. And so I like to look at that in terms of these 90-day chunks and how easy it is to, I've got the teenagers outside. I'm going to mute myself for a second.
So I guess I should continue talking then for a moment.
Hang on. Okay, now they just disappeared. Okay, good.
So you said something interesting, like you're selling your nutritionist short. You're actually selling yourself short because it's for you. This is your program. This is your journey, and to look at this as a quick fix on like I got to get this weight off. I can do it like in 4 weeks and then whatever. That's not how this works. Your body and your mind don't, you can't make changes that quickly. And unfortunately, I mean, I don't know how much you need to lose or want to lose, but I would take advantage of this because it's your gift to you. It's your gift to you.
When liposuction is not an option.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to resort to all of those other things. It's not easy. Yeah. It's not easy making changes. Absolutely. And especially with food. Especially
we have time for one more today, which is, this is Ronnie from Escondido, who's just north here it's about an hour away here in San Diego County. Ronnie is saying, I am pretty stubborn. Oh, this kind of fits with our last questioner. I like, not that you're stubborn. I'm just saying that, this is an emotional thing. I like my creature comforts. I want to know what creature comforts are, Ronnie, but I want to make some lifestyle changes. My doctor told me that I should, and 50% of me wants to, but what do I have to give up and deny myself? I like eating, but ... So I think this is an interesting one, because I'm trying to figure out, your doctor told you that you need to make some changes in your lifestyle, and half of you wants to. It's like having the devil and angel on your shoulder.
Yeah, all the time.
Figuring out which one is all the time.
That's life.
That's life. Make good choices.
Especially when it comes to something pleasurable like eating, and something that is working with or encompasses all your senses, really. And it's so a part of our daily life. Food it's just so loaded with so much, like past, present, future. There's so much emotion connected to food and eating and our diet. So I mean, you definitely, it sounds like I would just jump in, Ronnie. I would just say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try. I'm going to do it and see how I do. Like, jump in, see how you do, but also give yourself a break with, I was going to say, convince yourself that this is what you need to do, but that often doesn't work. What I would suggest is that you just try it. Just jump in and try doing some of these changes that either recommended by your physician or somebody else that you're working, that you might want to work with somebody.
Hey, Ronnie, what I recommend is send Monika at coachingforhealth.com a request for help.
Yeah, I can help you. I can
Or at
help
least
you.
for information. She might get you in touch with some materials that you can use.
And sometimes people are resistant because they don't want to feel defined by this, and they don't want to like set themselves up for failure, and they don't want to feel deprived, and they don't want to really fail. And just knowing that it's okay to fail, because there's the next meal or the next day, and failing is fine. Failing is fine.
Failing
And
is necessary.
yeah, exactly. And it's it takes time to make changes, as I always say every time we're on this broadcast. So yeah, stubbornness, that's fine. I've worked with many stubborn people. I'm stubborn too on some things. So that's just human nature. We resist what we don't know or what we're afraid of.
Well,
And
also your stubbornness can actually be harnessed to become determination to get this done.
yeah, exactly.
So I think once you latch onto it, it's like a dog with a bone who just won't let
Yeah.
go. Once you latch
And
onto a healthy lifestyle and better habits, you won't let go of them because the results are going to be so positive.
yeah, I'm stubbornly eating well.
I'm stubborn.
That's the goal. I stubbornly eat well because I don't want all that other stuff in my beautiful temple.
Hashtag SEW. It's not so. It's stubbornly eating well.
Stubbornly eating well. I like that. I'll have to do something like that. Stubbornly eating well.
Own that hashtag. Just like the hashtag coaching for health, or the Monika Klein zone.
The Monika Klein
That's
zone.
actually that's an at. That's an at, not a hashtag.
Actually, it could be a hashtag as well.
It could be a hashtag.
Yes.
Anyway, so I think we've reached the end of today. We're going to save those last two questioners for next week. I think we're catching up slowly but surely.
Well, we keep on getting questions, and we're so happy to be able to answer them for you. And please,
keep dropping them in below the videos here. As I said before, we're in 8 different locations, including YouTube and Twitter and all the others. And if you do have questions or suggestions, or there's a topic you'd like us to cover on Total Health Live, just drop it in underneath a video and we get an alert. And you can also reach us the Facebook page. Well, you have to be a member of the group. There's about 100 of you so far.
Join the group. Come on.
Yeah, Total Health Live is the name of the group on the Book of Faces, and you can reach us there. But Coaching for Health, you've got your website where they can send you an email and subscribe to your newsletter. And there's also they can send a direct message through Facebook Messenger too. So,
yeah.
All right, but just drop us a line underneath the videos, and we'll be able to come up with topics that you will enjoy. Not that you haven't been enjoying the topics thus far. So, we'll be back in a week. If it's 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on a Friday, it's time for Total Health Live.
Time for Total Health Live.
See you then.